Something's happening. Oh, looks like the stream is live. Reese is live on Mixer right now.
There we go. The intro music?
So YouTube was working fine.
YouTube was working, you said?
Yeah.
You know what? We'll figure out SEO and all that stuff later. Oh, we get ads now. Check that out. Who's getting the money for these ads?
Twitch? Amazon? Yeah, I see video.
Okay.
Is it when I have the headset on? Is the background noise acceptable, or should I mute?
You should mute. There's still background noise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely not as bad.
It's not as bad. Oh no, not at all. But I think it's better if you mute. I think we're live.
Yes.
I think we're.
Yay!
There's 5 people on the streams combined. I think 4 people.
One of them is me.
Okay. One of them is Ibrahim.
me.
So it's just us right now, I guess. A few more people. Should probably give a few more minutes to more people to join. Hopefully people can see us. We can add ourselves in that corner somehow. Let's see. Where's my mouse? Oh, I can hide this.
Do you have another computer set to the stream so you can kind of use that as a feedback and watch it?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing on my other laptop right now. But I need to set this up here so people can see us. I think I can just drag this here somehow.
Ooh,
Nope.
Didn't like that.
Yeah, there it is.
Nope.
You can see us now, yay. Okay, there's 4 of us now.
Alright.
Oh, you can see all 4 of us. Yes, we're live. We have 9 people on the stream. It's good.
Alrighty. Cool. Ooh, that's a fact.
We have 4 on Twitch, we have 2 on Mixer, and we have 3 on YouTube. So we have pretty decent distribution, I think, across all the platforms. Okay, I think we can start it.
Yes.
Okay, so for those that are joining us for whatever this is, I'm going to do a little intro. This is not the first one. It's actually the second live stream we did for the Windows Community Toolkit. Hopefully people can hear us. I'm not on mute. Please comment if you can't hear us, first of all. Obviously, if you can't hear this, that is not going to tell you anything.
Please raise your hand if you can't hear us.
Yes. Actually, if you can hear us, please comment on any of the platforms. So the Windows Community Toolkit, we did one of these. Perfect. Alvin can hear us. We did one of these last month in August. We talked about the tab control, tab view control. I don't think we decided on name yet, but we talked about what that is going to look like, and we got feedback, and it's still in development.
Getting closer.
Getting closer.
Should have the first PR out pretty soon.
Perfect. This is going to be talking about Xaml Islands, and we have a few folks joining us to talk about Xaml Islands. Alex is going to cover what we have in the toolkit and what's in the platform and how that separation works, and get feedback on the direction that we're going. On the call, just to do a little introduction. Here in the room, I'm Nicola, Shen, Michael, Alex, And on the call, we have Oren joining us all the way from Ignite. There it is. Jeannie.
Live on floor.
Live on the floor. Jeannie is top in the corner, and then we have Morten also as well joining us on there. And we have a few more people, such as Ibrahim, who's not on the camera, but he's on the call as well. I'm not sure if there's any other more people. I have to check. Do you have any more people on the call? That's it. So all those people that are on this call are core contributors to the toolkit. And so you will probably talk to us on GitHub or on Twitter or whatever it is, and you kind of interacted with us. Now you can see us in the flesh through a digital screen, sort of. That's it. So you saw Oren first, and I was like, what am I watching?
We asked the same question, to be honest.
Yeah, what are we watching? What is this going to be? How is this going to work out? Anyway, maybe Oren can give us a little intro of Ignite and how things are going in Ignite before we get started.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah.
Ignite's going really well. It has a good chunk of developers, and we've had a really good developer turnout here today. I'm broadcasting from the .NET OS booth, and so if you see people walking around, we're giving away stickers and buttons and stuff, and it's really exciting. Lots of energy here.
What's with the whole thing that you have going on over there on your face?
That would be my head. My face is down
Sorry,
here.
yeah,
but,
your head. Yes, your head. What's going on there?
I have it. I was at the Polynesian on Saturday, and got it from my daughter, and figured, well, I have it all week. I might as well wear it. It's going to wind up on Twitter, so I can own it. And guess what? It makes it really easy to find me here. There's 30,000 people here at Ignite, but how many people do you think are wearing mouse ears?
That's right. So if someone's looking for you, just look for mouse ears.
I'm not the only one. There is a pair of blue mouse ears out there.
Well, you have to have something more unique for next time then. Someone's asking about Justin. Justin said that he's busy this call, but he'll be there next call, fortunately. Sorry. But
come up, I think.
yeah, he's working on some cool stuff right now that we're probably going to talk about next time. Oh, Jeannie left. We weren't cool enough.
She froze. She froze.
Oh, that's
She was
okay.
trying to call back in or something.
That's okay. Well, she'll join us later.
Did you send a message?
I don't know.
Looks like she typed something.
Oh, someone's typing. Something's happening.
In the meantime,
Yeah.
we should probably discuss where
Yeah,
we
she's
are.
trying to-
'Cause,
But she's trying to call you, not join the call. You have to invite her back.
Oh,
to the
okay.
call.
Yeah.
so we're currently in a nice part of the
Hold on. He needs the microphone. There it is.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Mike's
do.
Building 83. This is where the store is. It's kind of cool. Very light, roomy, very open plan. And as Alex can attest, is very cozy.
You'll also see random people moving.
And a lot of random people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got feedback last time that the conference room we were in was not the best conference room in the world. Apparently people don't like just beige walls and nothing else.
Whiteboards.
So with
Does not pointing out Morton. Next time.
we were gonna do in Channel 9, but Channel 9 is busy with Ignite, so probably next time we'll be in the Channel 9 studios. Anyway, let's jump
skydiving
in.
next time.
What do you say?
Yeah, I'll do some skydiving or something next time.
Yeah,
Make
perfect.
it a little more interesting.
We'll only have a couple minutes, but it'll be great.
So we'll intro about our topic, Xaml Islands. Oh, hi JP. So Xaml Islands, for those that are not aware, Xaml Islands is a new API that's going to be available. It's available today in the insider builds of Windows. It's going to be available with the next feature update of Windows, which is going to allow developers to embed UWP XAML inside of Win32 applications, including WPF, yes, hearts, WPF and WinForms, or any Win32 application, really, which is a really cool feature, I think, requested by any developers. And as part of that, there is a feature that's being added to the Windows Community Toolkit that's going to make it easier for WPF and WinForms developers in general to use these XAML controls or XAML directly inside their apps. We're first introducing a new control that's called the Windows XAML host, which will be just a control that you add inside of your WinForms or your WPF, Then you can specify what UWP XAML you want to add inside of it. It could be just a platform control, such as like a button or a media player, or it could be a custom control that the developer has written. On top of that, we're also adding controls that we've wrapped that developers can just drop into their apps. So we're starting with the media player element, the ink canvas, ink toolbar. We're also adding a new WebView compatible control that allows developers to drop in WebView control that uses the Edge control when it's running Windows 10 or Windows 10 to support it, and it uses the web browser control or the IE engine when it's on Windows 7 and Windows 8 and other versions that don't have the Edge control in there. So that way developers don't have to write any of the code to handle what version they're on. It just kind of just works.
That's one of my favorite new controls, just because it's so easy. You can take the same binary and run it on Windows 7, and then take it when it runs on Windows 10 or a place where you have Edge, get that newer rendering of the faster benefits without having to change your app. And it still works on Windows 7.
Right, because we had the WebView released last version, but that's the feedback we got is like, I still can't run this on my other machine. Like if I write an app, it's not going to work on Windows 7. I have to handle that somehow. Yeah. So, agree. So I invited Alex to do a demo of this. Before we get into the demo, I just want to see if there's any questions, any comments that we want to make sure that we answer across this. Again, just a reminder, this is all done in the open. So if people are interested about trying this out, we actually have a preview on NuGet today. If you try out the Windows Community Toolkit, the NuGet version 5.0-preview, we'll have the latest control that I just mentioned for WPF. They're not for WinForms yet. That's actually being worked on a PR currently, so anybody can go in and comment on that PR.
I think they're already merged, but there's a very serious bug.
Okay, they might be merged, but still some bugs that we're kind of working through. Am I missing anything?
Oh, I think you nailed. That's pretty good.
Okay. There was actually a session, I believe, that at Ignite yesterday. Oh, hi, there's people behind Oren. Hey, there was a session yesterday at Ignite where
We get random visitors coming through.
That's awesome. Yeah. Miguel actually gave an overview of Xaml Islands and more about modernization, and he talked about this as well. And if people are curious, I would recommend watching if there's a recording. I'm not sure if there's a recording of that.
No, actually.
They should watch that recording as well. Yeah, Windows Developed Platform tweet at Ignite. Yes. We love the views. It's awesome. Anyway, so are you ready? Do you want to join the call?
You need to invite me, right?
I need to invite you. Okay. Let me try that. Hold this.
I'll be your Barbara's assistant.
Well, as always. It's not like you do anything. Okay, so I'm going to add Alex to this call so you can share his screen.
What are today's prizes, Shen?
Today's prize is Nicola's laptop.
Well, it is a work laptop. So.
Okay, how do I accept this here? It's not showing up.
Just added you.
Yeah.
Go live.
Go live? Nope.
What does that do?
Not working.
Need the elevator music.
Jump in.
There you go.
He's just going to turn you off and on again.
Just make sure you mute yourself. Don't.
That's it. And everybody else.
Done. That's done.
Sorry, I apologize for anybody that's on a call that just got their ears destroyed.
They can't hear you now anyway.
Okay, now
Okay,
let
you want to just share your screen?
Yep.
And then share screen, and then I'll make sure I promote that on here. Wherever that shows up. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Showing up. Oh yeah, just minimize it.
They can
Cool.
see themselves.
Great.
Okay.
So,
Can everybody on the
a lot
call,
of
by the
steps
way,
in this.
can everybody see this on the call?
Can you guys see my VS?
Yeah.
Great.
Perfect.
So, what I have here is my Surface book with a simple C# project. And what I have is a ULP library, which will make available everything and anything inside it to be used from a Win32 app. So Here I have custom assets in custom folders, so in this case just PNG files. I have a user control. I could have pretty much anything that compiles on any SDK of Windows here. This API itself is, there's not much, there's nothing too specific about it that wouldn't work on any SDK version.
Is this a standard universal class library, or is
this is just a standard ULP library. The only thing that I had to change, and again, this is in preview, so in future versions you won't have to do all these manual steps. So I had to edit the CS proj and add these 2 lines here. They're probably very small. Let me just zoom in. Enable time info. I'm actually disabling type info reflection, and I'm disabling XBind diagnostics.
Why?
Why? Because the generated files from this project, when I reference these generated files from the WPF or WinForms projects, if these 2 things are enabled, then the WPF or WinForms just won't be able to compile those. Right, so it's very specific, so it can be used in a context of
because the UWP features.
Yes, they are very specific to UWP, and those features don't work yet. Maybe I don't know if this will be ported to new versions of .NET Framework or .NET Core 3.0.
Okay.
So in this sample that I have, I'm running on full framework. I mean, I have a WinForms app, which is not working right now because of the bug that we have on the toolkit that's been fixed, but I do have a WPF version. So all I had to do in my WPF project was add a reference to the Windows Community Toolkit, the preview version. So let me just show you this here. I have NuGet, include pre-release, and here I have 2 controls added. Why I have 2 controls? Well, the first one is the Microsoft.toolkit.wpf.ui.controls. We also have a Microsoft.toolkit.forms.ui.controls. What this .ui.controls package enables us is to use some of the UWP controls inside this project. In this case, the WPF ones allows us to use this on WPF project. So it's a WPF user control that is wrapping the UWP user control. The Forms one is exactly the same thing, but for Windows Forms.
So currently your web view's in here.
Yes, WebView is
Actually no.
There's a separate.
So we split up. Yeah, we split up the WebView because the WebView is actually not dependent on Xaml
That's
Islands.
on RS4. Yeah.
Yeah. So the WebView is actually not a specific NuGet package, Microsoft.toolkit.wpf.controls.webview, and that has the WebView and the WebView compatible. The WPF.ui.controls or the Forms.ui.control controls only has the media player element, the in canvas, ink toolbar, and that's it for now. And then more will come. And then the XAML host one only has the Windows XAML host control that allows you to have any UI utility
so
XAML.
The control has a dependency on the XAML host. That's how these 3 controls, as of right now, actually instantiate this UWP context. They reference the XAML host.
Which is what I want to point out is if you want to wrap your own controls, I would actually look at the source code for the WPF.ui.controls and see how those are wrapped.
Yep.
They're actually using the Windows XAML host, and that's a great example of how to use the Windows XAML host in general.
You need to wrap it for the common drop. Is that the reason why?
Sorry?
You need to wrap it for common drop. Is that the reason why?
No, it's not for comm interrupt.
Okay.
You're not directly calling in comm here. Well, you're referencing the Windows SDK WinMD. So yes, you are calling comm because UWP WinMD is comm, but yeah, that doesn't come into play here. So by adding this WPF.UI.controls, I have access inside my WPF XAML to use controls such as the ink toolbar. So let me just count out the code I had here before. Just quick commenting out, just so I can show you this. Go to the code behind. There might be something here that I also need to. No, this is just standard. Yeah, this should be fine. Let me just comment this just in case. So this is just an empty WPF project, right? One more thing that you need to do is actually reference the UWP library from the WPF project, right? And there are a few ways of doing this. If you look at the documentations as of right now, the documentation asks you to add a post build script into your UWP class library, right? So as you can see, I don't have those here because I created a custom NS build target, which doesn't have a target, it's just an items group and some properties that inverts this dependency. So instead of the UWP class library compilation, copying files over to the WPF or WinForms project, the WPF WinApps has a dependency on the WPF class library. So since this is not a strong dependency, you can go to...
Say that again?
But I just wanted to call out that this is all like super preview. That's why it looks really hard here. And you know, if I was a developer, I'd be a little scared. So I'd say this is like an advanced scenario. Like, love for everyone to try it out and see what works and let us know what doesn't. But you know, it will get better. This will be like much easier as it goes forward into the subsequent releases.
Yes, absolutely. On 19H1, on the next version of Windows, probably in around 6 months, then we'll have the tooling that will enable all the scenarios.
And
I don't know exactly how they will look, but it will be in its totally production-ready stage.
Right. But this is only if you're writing your own custom UWP control.
Yeah.
If you want to use the platform control, it's much easier to add that. We should probably show that after.
Oh yeah, sure. Actually, I can do this first because it's simpler. So, we wanted to use the controls that we already have wrapped. All you have to do is reference the namespace. In my XAML file here, I have the UWP controls, which is pointing to this Microsoft Toolkit WPF UI controls namespace, and then I can use the controls that I have inside it, which I'm gonna use the ink toolbar and the ink canvas. Let me just move this here. Whoop. Sec. Okay. Okay, now I have my ink toolbar and I have an ink canvas. And as you can see, I am using a UWP control, but this is actually not a UWP control. This is a WPF control that wraps the UWP control. So there are a lot of concepts here. It's not an easy thing to get just quick, right?
So
but if you want to...
Your namespace would be WPF controls, and this is one you've written that's then gone in and...
But these are UWP controls wrapped in... Well, this is WPF controls wrapped in... this is so confusing. Yeah. So, and the target ink canvas, I'm using X reference to my ink canvas that I have right here. So let me just double check that. And this is a double click button, right? So I can mix and match. It's not like I need to have one page or one window. That's why we call this islands, because they are pieces of UI that you can share and interact with. There are UWP. And the current version for RS5 doesn't allow us to do like one thing on top of the other. It doesn't work too well because you're just attaching a UWP HWin into the WPF HWin in this case. But in future versions, that is something that we are looking forward. So it probably is going to work. This is a scenario that many customers did ask us, and it's probably something that we will be adding.
It's the same thing when they did the WinForms hosting.
Exactly. It's pretty much the same concept.
Right.
Right. So let's just double check that I have the right. Yeah.
It's just a question.
Should be
does it work with? Yeah. Does it work with the designer or? Not yet?
No, it doesn't. So it actually detects if it's running on the designer, and it just renders
white background.
No, like Xaml Islands or something. It just adds a label.
Oh, okay.
It depends on if you're.
Is that something that we fixed in the tooling?
I don't know. I really don't know. Is that something that the community might want? I mean, we're probably not going to have all the properties because your custom control actually has to create its own dependency properties, and those are, in this case, WPF dependency properties. So
you have to map from WPF to WP.
Yeah.
If you want the control to be exactly like it is in WP, you have to do all the same work on the WPF side.
Right.
If you just want to expose a custom control, then you probably don't need to expose any dependency property. You probably really don't need it. The only thing that works seamlessly between those two is I notify dependency property. I identify property changed and I identify collection changed.
So
those two interfaces are exactly the same.
But so do your events bubble up all the way through.
Yes.
Cool.
Only using iNotify property change, not using dependency properties, because dependency properties they're on different namespaces. So the WPF dependency property binding system is trying to bind to UWP dependency property, or vice versa. So they're just not going to work.
Right.
Maybe that's fixed in the future. Not right now.
Okay.
It don't work right now. So I haven't tried this just yet. Let's see if it builds.
JP had a comment. Generally, UWP does not work with a designer.
Okay, it's building.
Okay, so
I just pressed F5.
just to recap, you just added a ink toolbar in Canvas to a blank WPF app. That's all
Yeah.
you did here. Okay.
There's some other
And yeah, there's just something they need to comment out
Because we
here.
stopped you from in the middle of a demo, we changed to a different demo.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
it's fine. So, one thing to notice is that since I'm running on a Surface Book, which by default has a 200 scaling factor, this is not going to look perfect, right? If it works at all. So, okay, it actually did show up, it loaded, and as you can see, we do have the ink toolbar at the top, and we have our ink canvas here. The only thing is that I don't have a pen. Do any of you guys have a pen?
Can you use your touchscreen?
I can, but I have to enable it on the code behind.
Let's do that.
Yeah, that's actually pretty easy.
So you said the DPI, so it looked really small. The
it
ink
looked really small. That was
Is that going to be
problem.
fixed?
It's going to be fixed only on 19H1.
Is
So
there
if
something
you-
the developer can do now to fix that themselves? Like if an app is running on a 200 DPI and it
No,
looks
it's gonna look bad because the ULP LAN doesn't know that you're running inside a.
So maybe this is a
double
good
cap
time
app.
to mention that this is going to continue be as a preview API until the next major release of Windows after this release.
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
It's used at your own, desire, and it's not intended to be used for production just yet.
Yep. So the ink canvas does expose the ink presenter, but this is not the same ink presenter that we have on ULP. This is the Microsoft.toolkit.ui.controls.interrupt.winrt.inkpresenter.
Wow, how
So-
did you memorize all that?
I didn't memorize, I was just reading. And we also have the input type, device types. So here I'm just using the full names, but as you can see, I'm just adding the mouse type. So if I run this now,
I feel like we need a XAML extension and UWP to turn on the mouse for that.
yeah, right, that would be nice.
You mean
Yeah.
do it through XAML?
I just hate
Yeah.
doing it
Yeah,
I was
through
thinking
C#
that.
all the time.
At least for that one scenario. It's
Right.
like a core scenario.
for,
Yeah.
for demo scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all about the demos.
Okay, so now that it did load, I'll just use my finger, and it's not working. I
It's using
actually have
touch.
to
Use
use
mouse.
You did
You
mouse.
did mouse.
Not
You did
working.
mouse. You did mouse.
I'm using mouse.
No.
Who's using a demo?
It's the wrong mouse, maybe.
Did you recompile?
I did.
Well, I've seen this work, so.
Yeah, I see it work too. Let's try it
We
again.
believe you.
Maybe just on the wrong row.
Try putting touch in it instead. Let's
Row 1. Yeah, it's auto.
Try and make it star and then remove the last one.
Or just move it to the
Oh,
side.
yeah.
one. Yeah,
Oh,
there you
yeah.
go.
There it is.
That was it. Okay.
Yeah.
I like Corey's comment. From Z to grid.
What's the question? So in theory, will WinForms data grid be able to host in canvas inside the cell?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now, yay, it worked. But if I try to use the second half of the screen, then it doesn't work. You see, I'm since this is a 200% scaling factor, I only have like half the width and half the height.
If I put it in VBox, would that work?
Nope, it would not. So
So,
if you run on a 100%
Do we have-
DPI monitor, then it
Do we have an issue
just
open
works.
for this, by the way?
What?
We should open an issue for this. We don't have an issue.
This is a known issue. This is
On the
a known
platform,
issue.
it's on the platform
It's
side,
on
but
the
it's not on the
platform.
toolkit side. Should we have something?
We could, yes, absolutely.
Because I thought the WebView had to deal with this too, didn't it? Or did
They had,
separate
but
it?
that's a different API. The WebView uses an RS4 API. The WebView does not have a dependency on that package that we just showed. It's a different API.
Okay.
So, yay, that's it, great.
So Miguel looks like he's lost and nobody knows where the boot is. So maybe we can just say look for Oren in the Minnie Mouse.
He's in the OSS .NET.
See, that's why I'm wearing them. You can find me.
Oh,
Now I can say that the Windows platform, the Windows developer platform, is directly across the way from the .NET OS booth. Although I'm not sure why we're split up like this, but I can see it. I can see it from here.
Yeah, Miguel, just look for the Mickey Mouse people, or look for Oren.
Minnie
Yeah,
Mouse.
no
Come on,
ladder.
it's Minnie Mouse.
Just look for a Mickey or Minnie Mouse.
Yeah. We'll find him.
So, well, that's the simplest demo you can do, right?
See, we can see. Look, we're near this giant bird's nest. I don't know if you can see here. Well, I don't know what's coming through.
It's not coming through. Let me see if I can.
Alex can switch over back to
Yeah, let me-
having to reshare.
Oh, there. Okay, now we can see her.
Can you see?
Where are you?
Wait, where's the camera? Is it not coming?
No, there's no camera.
Why is the
I
picture?
was there for a second.
We need to
You are now
choose.
white dot is on.
Maybe if I stop and restart the camera, is it not?
The camera is not coming through.
Let me stop and restart the camera.
Okay.
Just put the on button.
I can see myself in the little window.
Anyway, he'll figure it out. Let's go back to the demo.
Yeah.
So the cool thing here is that inside the toolkit, we already have this control that is actually handling the WPF size change for that control, and it's propagating the size change to the ULP side. So we know the system, Windows, knows that we want that control rendered in that specific size. That's already handled for us, right? But what we can do is, well, what if I have a custom control? Then it gets a little bit trickier because, well, you need to somehow know how to instantiate this ULP control inside a .NET framework context or .NET Core context. That's already working. I tried it. I tweeted 2 days ago, right? So it gets a little trickier. So the way that ULP instantiates some things, especially XAML things in our case, is whenever you try to build a ULP library, whenever you build a ULP library, you will have inside your obj debug, you will have this file called XAML type info class, which is a .g.cs. The G stands for generated file. So if you open this up, let me open it here. If it opens, nope. Come on, help me out here. Okay, great. So this generated file implements a very important interface, which is this iXAML metadata provider. So whenever a XAML Islands try to load a type, it actually searches for this iXAML metadata provider instance. So it searches for all the DLLs and executables inside the same folder. There's a pattern to search for. It tries to find that DLL. It tries to find a type inside that DLL that implements this interface, and well, then it knows that that interface can instantiate that DLL or executable, that assembly can instantiate XAML types.
It reminds me of MEF. Remember MEF used to do that with the export and imports?
Yep.
And it's the same thing, right?
It's
looking
similar.
over the folder.
The concept
and
is pretty much the same.
Yeah, like looking over the folder finding things.
So without going into too much details, I don't think that's actually necessary here. We need to copy this file and build it on WPF or WinForms. So the way to do it is, well, if you follow the documentation, there's already a way of doing it. Well, when we introduced the desktop bridge, we allowed WPF and WinForms, actually any kind of Win32 developers, to call these COM APIs, the WinSDK API. So you can reference the WinMDs and just call those APIs from WPF. So that's what I did for this project. I added a reference to, I always forget all the DLLs, but we have system runtime interrupt services .windows runtime and system Windows runtime, system runtime Windows runtime, and system runtime Windows runtime UI XAML. That's any one specific if you want to load any XAML type. And we
before
also
you couldn't
have
do XAML.
WinMDs. But
Before you couldn't do XAML.
You
The only
couldn't
way
do
you
XAML,
could
yeah.
use were actually API, like notifications.
yeah, or live tiles,
Right.
So if you want to use some of the new Windows APIs in a WPF app that's
Right,
wrapped
right.
inside a desktop bridge, shared on the store, right, distributed on the store.
So Jean just asked a question like, how fast is it when you compile natively?
So the UWP library is exactly the same. The control is exactly the same. There should not be any kind of performance.
There's no
Yeah.
extra long time
No.
on your build.
No, the instance itself is exactly the same. The system handles it exactly the same. It's just exposing it as an HWin, and you're just attaching it to your window.
Okay, so both runtime and
It should be
compile
exactly
time
as
are
just as fast.
as same.
Yeah.
Cool. That's pretty neat.
So one thing that we still don't have is accessibility. So if you have any kind of automation inside the UWP control, and you are exposing that through an HWin on WPF app, this is one example, that's not going to work,
I see.
right? You're just going to the automation things are only going to find the XAML host, and that's it. Oh, that's an HWin. Perfect. Great.
Oh, I see, because it's not diving into the
It's not
tree.
diving in. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
But there are a few more problems, but they're minor. These two are the most complicated problems that pretty much don't allow you to use this in production, right? If you don't have accessibility and it doesn't work on all scaling factors, well, you just
Sure.
can't use it.
So you showed this in the custom control that you built. What about like using any of the custom controls that we've built in the toolkit, like a third-party library that uses custom
So
controls?
this is not a scenario that works right now for RS5, but it's something that we're investigating on 19H1. I think it's going in. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm really not sure.
So this won't work right now. Okay.
Yeah, right now it's not working.
And all the stuff you're showing, is this documented somewhere? Or is this, people will have to watch this video to figure it out?
It is documented. So we do have, let me try to find
That means
this.
that adds priority to the fixing our XAML metadata exposure. Because we had the issue with the sample app where it doesn't expose all the types.
Right.
So since it can't find them, it can't load them dynamically, for
Mhm.
examples.
Yeah, so even if you just add a dependency on this ULP class library to, as one example, the ULP controls, the toolkit controls, just add a reference to the package. You don't even have to use it. Then the XAML type info .cs is going to include some of those
Right, that's what we're saying is
those
the
controls.
the current library DLLs don't expose the full XAML type info they
Yep.
should.
Right.
But the problem is that's not going to build on WPF or WinForms because it will try to find that class. So the XAML type info is not the only class that you add.
Right.
So you actually have to add references to the, in my example, the my user control 1.xaml.cs, and inside the obj folder there is also the my user control 1.g.cs and my control 1.g.i.cs, and there's one more file that is very important, which is the XBF.
Right.
It should work with XBFs and XAML files. It's exactly the same thing. It's just XBF should be faster because they're compiled. But the way this works is you try to create a new instance of a ULP class, right, which is probably backed by a XAML file. If it's backed by a XAML file on your initialized component, it's going to try to load, and that's inside, I think, the .g or the .g.i.ts. It's going to try to load the XAML file.
Yeah.
Even though the path points to a XAML file, before it tries to load the XAML file, that's how the XAML file system works, it tries to find the XBF. If it finds the XBF, it loads it because it's faster. If it doesn't, then it searches for the XAML file. And if it doesn't find the XAML file, then bang, it just doesn't work. So these things need to be in the very specific folder where it tries to find things. So in case of Xaml Islands, imagine that you have the MS APX protocol, right?
Right.
But you're not inside an MS APX. You don't have to be, right? Originally, ULP apps only run inside an APX, but now we have this ability to run a ULP control in a Win32 context. So where is it going to map that? So as of right now, I don't know if they're changing it. I don't think they will. That actually makes sense. The running assembly is where it's actually trying to find. So if we go to the WPF app bin debug, in my case, the executable, my WPF app1.exe file, is where the ns appx / is going to look for.
Okay, right.
Right? And the thing is, the generated file, since this is a library, it is trying to find the XAML files inside the ms appx / library name / whatever relative path that you have. So if you have in my case, the my user control 1.xaml, it is going to try to find the XBF file inside the ms appx / ULP class library / my user control 1.xbf. If that's inside a folder, in my example controls, then it's going to be ms appx, name of the library, controls, and custom control.
And I'm assuming that's the same. If in the C# they've referenced something that uses package.current, it would then also use the same? Because that's.
I assume so. I haven't tested it, but yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a lot of information. It's a lot of
Quickly,
things
you're
happening.
going through a lot of issues right now that we're having. Are all these issues documented?
No,
Okay.
not all of them.
So maybe we should document that. So I'll
It
take a note that
will
we
be
need to
very
document
helpful.
all these
Yeah.
issues.
So the thing is, I'm writing a blog post with all the findings that I came up with.
Yeah.
That's probably going to help a lot of third parties to use these controls. And I'm already reviewing the article with a couple of guys, and maybe in 2 weeks it should be out
Right.
in the public.
That's on the Windows blog, right?
Yeah.
The Building Apps blog.
Yes, it's going out on the Building Apps blog.
So Jean is asking, if you're loading the XBF, does that mean there's a way to deserialize an XBF?
If you search online, there is no official Microsoft API to deserialize an XBF. I don't think there is.
And I think this is
but there are
deserializing
community
it.
projects. You don't have to deserialize.
Yeah, you're
them.
just
the
running.
SDK does it for you.
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
have to
Just-
manually do none of this process that I'm
Just
talking
does a
about.
load, right?
That's
It just loads
I'm
the
just
SBF and just runs.
explaining the guts of it.
Right.
But you don't have to manually do any.
One thing you didn't show here, maybe you can show, is how to, like, if I want to use a native control myself, like a button, how does the Windows XAML host work? Maybe we can do a demo of that.
Yeah.
It's
So
like the simplest thing you can do with this.
yeah, so I already created this class library. So as I started mentioning at the beginning of the video, you can create a post-build script that copies all this XBF, the XAML, your custom control.g.cs, .g.i.cs, the XAML type info. Those are pretty much all the files that you need, and you copy those files to your WPF or WinForms project so they can be compiled on the WPF or WinForms project. But a post-build script doesn't work too well, so I created snippet. It's not a snippet. It's a targets file. Orin, please don't throw rockets at me. I know this is terrible, but it's my limited notion of XBF of MS Build.
So maybe this is a
allow
good
me
time to have this
Like,
conversation.
we fix this. I promise we're gonna fix this. We'll make this better.
Yeah, this is gonna be better. Don't look at this.
Orange throwing his mini mouse ears off his
Yeah.
on the floor.
This is not even a targets file. This is
like,
terrible.
"What is
I
this?"
totally agree. Does acrylic brush still work just fine? Yes, it should just work. The only thing that's not going to work is if you try to make that HWin, that XAML host control, transparent. That's not transparent yet. So you're not going to tint all the way back to the desktop,
So
right?
if you
It's going to get stuck on the app
okay,
level.
so depending on your background source, like depending on whether it's host or
Yep.
like, okay, so you can only go as far as the app. You can't
As
go
far as the app,
you can't
exactly.
go
But
to
if your WPF app has a transparent background,
It's not going to work.
no?
so the
No.
HWind has like a white background by default
Yeah.
or something?
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's a scenario that is probably going to be fixed by 19H1. Not making any promises here, but I think it's going to be
You
fixed
just
on
mentioned
19H1.
1981 for everything. This
Yeah, and that's the case. The thing is, we released it on RS5 so we could get feedback from the community as soon as possible so we can tailor this to the best experience that we can. But this is a preview. We should not use this in production at all.
Okay.
So if you just reference this targets file in, if you just import this targets file in your WPF project, it's going to copy all the correct files into the right paths. So you just press F5 and it works, right? So all you have to do is, instead of use the UWP controls in toolbar or in Canvas, you use the UWP host, which is inside the XAML host namespace. So I'm just adding a different namespace here, calling it UWP host. Now let me comment out my previous demo. I'm going to enable this here. And by the way, you don't have to copy any files if the classes that you want to instantiate are already instantiatable from the WPF context without, if it's not a custom control. If it's a system API, like a button, in this case, like a Windows UI XAML controls button, it should just work if you reference the right WinMD files, right?
Right, so you have to specify just the full class name of the
fully
control
classified
you're
name,
trying,
yeah.
if it's a platform control.
That's just a
In
string,
this case,
it's a magic string.
so
it's not like.
It's not a magic string. It's a namespace. It's a fully qualified name.
But I mean, like, it's not like you're going to get any intelligence.
No, it's no
on this,
intelligence here
and that's
at
the
all.
reason why
And
you build.
This won't work with WinUI because WinUI is a third-party control at this point. It has to be
It's
something
not
that's part of
gonna
the
load at
WinMD.
the level.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, it has to be part of the WinMD, okay.
Yeah. I never tried it with WinUI, but it's probably not going to work.
Right.
So if you want to do something else, like a custom control, then you just need the full qualified name of that custom control. In my case, it's UWP class library .controls.blank page 1, which is this UWP user control, actually a blank page that I have here.
Are you going to be sharing this project with the blog post, Alice?
I'm sharing a different project, one that is not as terrible as this one.
Okay.
But yeah.
Preview, yeah.
So, and here you can use, ignore this designer failure, you can use whatever you want in terms of UWP features. If you want to use Xbind, you can, it will work. We just disabled on that MS build, we just disabled the Xbind diagnostics, not Xbind itself, not all Xbind. Everything should just work here.
It's out of the UWP control library, right? Not the WPF, right?
Yep. Yeah, and this is very complicated. You will get into a point where, well, is this the system dot something dot button, or is it the Windows dot something dot button? So it's the UWP button or the WPF button when you're casting controls. It's complicated. Be careful of the usings you're using.
Right. Now, you showed everything here in WPF, but this also works in WinForms,
It's
right?
exactly the same concept. So instead of doing it inside the XAML, your WPF XAML, you just drag and drop control, and in the properties panel, you just specify the initial type name using the full qualified.
So how do, if I want to register an event on this button, how do I do that on this button?
Okay, so if you want to register an event on this button, I'm just giving an WPF X name. This is going to generate a property for me to use, and in my code behind, I can, actually I already had it here. I have my UWP button. Actually, I need to comment this out because I comment the other one. Dot child changed. The child of the
Windows
XAML host
Right.
is the UWP control itself. So this is being exposed inside this child change event. And here, I can just uncomment this. I have access to the windows.ui.xaml.ui element that this XAML host is exposing for me, right?
It's kind of like a loaded event. Like whenever this is loaded, go ahead and I can start using
Whenever
whatever.
the child change, it's
Right.
not the same as loaded.
When will the child change?
It changes whenever you change. You can. It's a property, so it's a getter and it has a setter, so you can manually change it. I think it's going to trigger the event, or at the first load when you, if you set the initial type name, then it's going to call that event for you. Here you can hook up to events and all the kind of things that you would do.
Nice.
And
But
that child change, that's an instance of basically the UWP type, right?
yes, that's the UWP type. So here I'm casting to, and I'm being very specific here, windows.ui.xaml.controls.button. And with this button, I'm just attaching an event, And the cool thing, this is not the ULP message box. This is the WPF message box.
Right.
Oh yeah, because you show everything.
Could I do the ULP message box somehow?
You could.
Would it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It also
The
works.
message dialog so far. Message diag.
Because you've already referenced the right DLLs in WinMD, so you can.
Yeah.
Right.
I just need to write Windows pop-ups.
Yeah, so it goes in the Windows UI. Okay, perfect.
And just make it async and just use it. Yeah, it will just work.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay, this is a lot.
It's a lot of information, yeah.
I want to give an opportunity for community to write in if there's any comments and questions in here. Make sure we have time to answer those.
So are the documentation up to date on these, or where can I find this online to try and play and learn more about it?
Show what the documentation is.
I'm trying to find it.
Well, we published some of the documentation when we published the NuGets, right?
Yeah, and
but
I just I'm never able to find
the search for Windows Community Toolkit documentation. Documentation. There it goes. First click. And then if you go under controls on the side, there's going to be controls for WPF and WinForms. And then the Windows Xaml host is the Xaml host.
Yep.
And then everything else, you can look at all the other controls that we have, the WebView compatible. Scroll up on the left. On the left, all the way on the left.
Oh.
Scroll up. Yeah, so in canvassing toolbar, media player element, WebView compatible.
So we created the wrappers for these controls because they were the one that the community asked us to do, right? It's the most requested ones, but as time goes by, if again, this is an open source project, so if you want to submit another
that's a great
control,
point.
just
Is there any other controls that should be wrapped like this? That's a question, I guess, for everybody. Is like, this is just a start. Are there anything else that's part of the platform that should be wrapped? Are there any other third-party controls that maybe we should look into wrapping as well? Maybe there's Community Toolkit controls that we should wrap.
Is the WinUI team, do you know if they have plans to wrap their controls?
That's a good question too. We don't know.
I don't know.
It's
Because the navigation view, I'd imagine, would be a good one.
right.
What about the text box? Because you'd get all linking capabilities on a text box if you had the UWP version.
That would be interesting. Yeah,
So you would be tech box.
Great.
And then as you port your app across eventually, then you get all that goodness and people are already used to it, so it's not like a big problem.
So again, if you're wrapping your custom control, you can use all those controls. You don't have to expose each individual control, ULP control, inside a wrapper. You don't have to do it.
Yeah.
As long as you wrap your custom control, your page. So if you want to replace, I don't know, if you have an app and you want to replace just a login screen with a big island, that's your new login experience with a ULP experience, just do it.
Okay. Then we have a couple of questions there. So binding, button properties, and also styling, which I suppose is sort of one of the same thing in certain ways. But yeah, what do you do in that case? Like, especially if I wanted to do like an xbind to a click event handler, and I wanted to call the method in the
So you have to wrap it, I assume, right? Just like we've wrapped them,
right.
the controls, you have to provide the dependency property in a WPF that maps to a UWP dependency property.
Okay, but
right?
then when I do my styles, then does that mean I just target with the fully qualified namespace the UWP, or how does that work? Like,
Styles are not going, as often right now, they're not going to propagate from one.
so they don't propagate.
Imagine that you have two different contexts.
Yeah.
They're not going to work that way. The only thing that I found that really works is identify property changed, because it's the same interface.
But
It's exactly the
This
same.
is .NET standard interface, right?
Yeah.
You were going to show how the dependency properties works, right?
Yeah, so the best way of doing this is just going to the source, because again, this is all open source. So if you want to look at the WPF controls, UI controls, well, how do we wrap the in canvas? There you go, you have all the source here. So there are some bind methods. They're binding the properties from the framework elements to the ULP element, right? To the UI element. So we are recreating the bindable properties. It's kind of complicated, but
So is that bind method something that we
you have it
provided
because
as a
you're
helper?
calling the extension. You're extending this Windows Xaml host base extension.
I see.
Right.
So
Is
that
it-
would be the best way.
Do we make that a
close it.
public class?
That's a pretty good question. I'm
Can
not
anybody extend one?
sure. See.
Ooh, how did you do that? I want to learn.
Yeah.
T.
that's just-
Wait,
Just press T.
What? No, go back.
wait, hold on. This is some
You can be
GitHub.
pretty much anywhere inside GitHub and just press T.
The letter T?
Yeah, the letter key, just
do they
not
not
Control
document
T or
it?
anything like that. I don't know.
You just pasted that in and.
That is
I
amazing.
just pasted it, and it's like a global
There's a
search
search.
just for files.
Oh.
It's not
Automatically-
so
I thought it was
the,
go to go
the
to
search or jump to inside.
Sorry, that was a
this
little
header.
sidetracked, but yeah, that was.
Yeah, but it's still essentially the
I
same
didn't know
thing.
that.
I don't like this one because it searches for everything, but it's
Yeah.
not everything. It's terrible.
Right.
So when I know the name of the file, I just use
So,
T.
so
Okay.
since you're already here with T, is there anything else we should know about GitHub that we don't know?
Be your guest and on comments say any of the
I'm just gonna
shortcuts that you
Go
love.
through the keyboard, pressing one letter at a time to see what GitHub does.
So
Okay,
let's see. This is actually a public class.
Perfect. So anybody can extend this.
Yep.
one.
Yeah,
So
this
you
is
can
really
reference the WPF with the WinForms.ui.controls package, and then use this class to
cool.
wrap
This is
your.
inside the controls one. Should it be inside the controls?
That's a good question.
Maybe it's on the wrong package. I
I'll
don't
take
know.
a note for this. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, could this bind method, if it notices the dependency property coming in from WPF side, just register to it's changed
Yep.
and like make that bridge connect automatically? Because that would help a little bit with the connections, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's very simple, but still very powerful. So the way that the whole thing generates and actually instantiates the classes for you is using this ULP type factory, which will search for that interface that I showed inside the Xaml type info, right? But you don't have to know that. If you just use this class, it's just easier this way. On the blog post, I really drill down into how the Windows APIs, there are two very specific Windows APIs inside the SDK. Well, because in theory, since this is just an HWin, inside the toolkit, we're just exposing the WPF and WinForm controls, but you as an open source developer should, I really would love to see a wrapper for, I don't know, Java, Delphi, any other language that can render an HWin will be able to render any ULP API control.
It's awesome. Well, I did a demo of VB6 rendering a WinForms, rendering a WPF.
I saw that. It
renders.
was awesome.
Okay, I think we're running out of time. I do want to make sure there's enough time for questions. So if anybody has any questions or anything, we can answer those. Again, all of this is on GitHub. There's issues. There's pull requests are currently they're going on.
I think I ran this.
Give us feedback. Help us fix bugs. Help us write features. If you think that a control needs to be wrapped, let's wrap a control that the community thinks it should be there.
That's a request for Lottie there.
So soon as Lodi working WPF. So there are two ways of doing this right now. You could either use Xaml Islands and wrap a Lodi ULP, and it would just work inside any Windows 10 version
You can't,
that
because
can
it's
run
a
an
third-party
island.
library, though. You have to have the source for it. So you have to build.
You can just copy it.
Right.
You can just copy the source.
You have to get
Yeah.
the source.
That
and-
would
yeah.
be a little bit complicated. But the thing is, I just found out that a guy forked Lodi ULP into Lodi Sharp. So now we do have Lodi for WPF natively running probably all the way back to Win7.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. So this is my custom control. And as you can see, I have a WPF button here at the top. And I have a ULP button at the bottom. When I click this, this is not the ULP message dialog. This is a message box that we have like from the system since, I don't know, Windows 3.1. WPF or whatever. It's very old, yeah. And here I have just two images inside a grid. I just wanted to test. At the bottom one, there are actually two different images. I was just testing if my MS Build script was copying files from all locations, not only from the root folder. So, yeah.
It's an ink over one fish.
But this is really cool,
It's the wrong fish.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but this is running fine on this DPI sale, right?
So that tells me that there's something that we can do today to fix
Yeah,
this.
maybe. Maybe, most likely.
Yes. So we should take a look at that.
Yeah.
Well, because the control itself is
I'm wondering if because the
It's
bomb
filling
part
up
is
the whole thing.
UWP is spacing it all out for you, and he's just basically going, I'll take whatever.
Right, because the user control
That's-
within the host is expanding to fill the thing, and then the UWP controls all fill in the grid. Versus the in canvas, which is
Right,
it's
it's
getting laid
forcing
out
the
by
layout.
WPF. Yeah.
Right, it's forcing the layout.
Right.
Because in canvas, technically, it's a 0 pixel by 0 pixel, unless you specify a height and width. It doesn't expand anyway. It just so happens that
Like, I
you
wonder-
can, you can ink away from it.
What I could do, yeah,
In canvas.
yeah, I
in
could do
user
this.
control and see
It's
what
actually it should be quite
Okay,
simple.
let's debug it right now.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
And while he's doing that, any questions, any comments, any...
I'm not even gonna add the other one. Oh, actually, I do need to do that.
Next time we do this, call Alex. We want to see that.
See, this is why we need the extension in the toolkit to enable
Yep.
mouse touch. I almost was gonna go look into that the other day.
Input device types, right?
Yeah. It's strange that this actually isn't a XAML thing,
mouse.
though. Like,
Yeah, I know.
because you do everything else in XAML, and then the input well, I know why. Because I think the ink presenter is like a separate piece that
Right.
the ink canvas uses. So the ink analysis, it's kind of independent of the
Yeah.
ink. You just pass it through a collection.
Well, it's because they construct the ink presenter and then you use a reference to that.
Correct,
Versus if you
right.
just could instantiate your own ink presenter in the XAML with all the properties. set
right,
that
right,
you
right.
want.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, in order to make this scenario work without having to manually build the ULP class library, you can go to solution and add a manual dependency from the WPF to the ULP library.
Decent, yeah.
So whenever you press F5, it's just going to build the other one.
As
So-
one has a ink canvas.
Oh, of course, I forgot to say it's
Within line.
no the grid.
Grid.
Oh,
There it
it's
is.
probably
Grid
saying
of
I don't
row.
know exactly
Zero,
where it
zero,
is.
right.
It's probably under
Oh,
zero
yeah,
zero
you
or
didn't,
somewhere.
You didn't give it a good.
Yeah.
Rid of the rows. Yeah.
It was at the auto one, so it was zero
Uh,
height.
3, 2, 1.
You want to build that fast?
Yes, not that fast.
3, 2.
The ULP build system is unfortunately way slower than the WPF or WinForms.
So just looking at the time, we're almost at the top of the hour. It looks like we are. Any final closing thoughts here, or does we want to wrap up?
Sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry, they were breaking up.
Yeah, so I was thinking if we're about at the top of the hour, any final or closing thoughts as do we want to wrap up?
Yeah, it's a good point. So if there are any questions, please let us know. Please go on GitHub and comment, submit issues, help us do a better job at this.
It does work.
It does work, yeah.
It does work.
Also, if you have any suggestions for what else you want to do in this calls, or what other topics we should cover, or you have any other features for the toolkit that we should put in there, make sure to reach out to us either on GitHub or on Twitter. Anybody else that wants to add anything?
No, live solve the bug.
Yeah, I mean,
Work around now. So now
it's
they're
a
gonna
word, but the thing
deprioritize.
is, the size is correct, but the DPI scale is still wrong.
Right.
So things are still going to look very small.
So we should take a look at that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess thanks everybody for joining us. Unless there's anything else, please we can comment offline on GitHub, on Twitter. I'll repeat this for the 10th time.
Do we have a date for the next one of these yet?
We'll probably do another one next month. Do let us know how this one is going and how you want us to improve. We're just starting out with these, so any feedback you can give us on these calls would be greatly appreciated. If there's any topics we should cover, I was thinking of maybe doing. Actually, I had something in mind, but I'll make sure that with the core team we'll discuss if that's the right thing to talk to this time. But yeah.
I just wanted to show that this also works on .NET Core 3.0.
Yes, we don't have any time, but you did
Yeah.
get this working on that.
It works.
Perfect, awesome. I guess that's. Do you want to stop sharing so we can see everybody on the call?
Sure.
We all left.
Aaron is still non-button.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh yeah, look, we have
yay.
people there.
All right, cool.
Hey, look. Hello. Can you
We
see
should be
us?
saying bye-bye now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All
thanks
right.
everybody
Well, Miguel and I are, but I guess you couldn't really see us. So.
No, we can see you now though. So for those who don't know,
Oh well.
Miguel, you had a session right yesterday. Is that going to be online?
Miguel
for Xaml
can't
Islands?
Miguel can't really hear you
Can you ask him?
because we're on the headset. What do you want? What was that?
Is his session going to be online? The one he did yesterday.
I was asking if your session's gonna. When is your session gonna be online? The one you did yesterday.
Yeah, I think that today.
He thinks later today.
Perfect. So people should go and make sure to check out that. It has a lot more details, I assume.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right. See ya.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye. Close this out.
Bye.
Stop streaming.